This is the Balanced Growth Show with Dr. Travis Perry, helping successful business professionals like you achieve balance in their lives.
Have you ever wanted to clone yourself? I spend a lot of my time telling my clients, you can't do that. It's impossible. But Logan Speights and Bryon Morrison, they're serial entrepreneurs who did just that. Well, kinda. They created Proxxy clones executives so they could scale their business and eventually exit. They call themselves executive multipliers, applying their system to take over and automate your routine tasks, and then offer strategic counsel and drive your initiatives. They typically save at least 8 hours each week for their clients, so it becomes easier to keep those initiatives going and stay balanced. Logan, Bryon, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us. Great to see you, Travis.
Absolutely. We had a little bit of fun in the pre-show, getting to know each other a little bit better and talking about some fun things. I'm excited for this conversation, but I always like to start off. Tell us your story. How did you get here? I know you wanted to clone yourselves, but it goes a little bit deeper than this. So Bryon, why don't you take it away? Sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody's had that desire at one time or another to want to clone themselves. And so we're no different. But, where it really started was I was serving on the boards of lots of high growth, small to medium sized businesses. We would go into these board meetings and, we'd share some input. You'd hear great ideas from the board. And there was always this moment where the CEO would go, "Oh, that's great. I'm going to do that." And then we'd show up at the next board meeting and say, "How did that go?" And they would just go, And so it got to a point where I just started looking at that and I was like, why is that? And so I got together with Logan, our other partner, Tony Amador, and we just kind of broke down and just kind of deconstructed what the real issues are. And one of the issues that we have found is that CEOs are really good at understanding what's happening during the day on a day-to-day basis, but also listening for new input. That's what makes them great. The challenge is then they come back to the organization. They go, "I got a great idea. I got another great idea. Let's do this too." And the rest of the organization is focused on how am I optimizing what I do really well. That's what you told me to do. And so the technologists in the room would refer to that as like a bimodal mindset. What is my core and what do I do great? And then how do I absorb new information that comes in? And as you would say, Travis, I mean, a lot of people, the answer is, well, buckle down, work harder. And that's just a hamster wheel that, nearly kills everybody. And so anyway, we just kind of broke that problem down, reconsidered like how it could be done. What are the people that are necessary? What are some processes that allow us to do this better? All three of us had come out of the agency and marketing world. And, there's so many relationships you have where the vendor is kept at arm's length. And, if you really just are trying to help somebody, it's the worst kind of relationship. And so we start from the inside out. We start with things that are, you might think really remedial, like how's your calendar work? And how are your communications done and your email? And that seems really remedial, but what it does is it helps us completely understand the individual in a very short period of time. So little things like that, like how do you rethink how you bring solutions to someone? And it's really more of a servant leadership perspective.
Yeah, I love that. We can dive deeper into how the business works. I've got to have a great, again, pre-podcast show intro into that. Logan, I think you said it best when I was trying to figure out, so are you guys, executive, assistant, virtual assistant, like what do you do? But Logan, you kind of spat back with the one-liner that really stuck with me. If I'm struggling to know what is Proxxy clones? What do you guys actually do? Tell us what that is.
Sure. Break it down simply. I like to say that you're kind of an EA with an MBA, right? Your EA, they're tasks that you can just hand them and they can go do, and that's great. But as executives, we take on things that are so much bigger than go get my dry cleaning and all those other things that we like to joke about that we do with our assistants, right? But you would love to take those things that you can't hand to anybody else in the organization. But you've got to create some time. You've got to go eat dinner. You've got to sleep some. Who can you hand that to? And so having basically somebody like an EA that you can hand things to, but somebody who you don't have to explain what this initiative is. You don't have to go back because they have that training. They have that background. They can sit there and they can meet you almost as a peer and take those initiatives off your shoulders so that you don't have to carry all the weight alone.
You guys were talking about how, as you were bringing this idea to the market was struggling to be virtual and to kind of work virtually in the setting. And then 2020 happened and it changed things up just a little bit for everyone. And really that hurdle doesn't exist as much, at least right now. I've been virtual since 2006 and I've loved the flexibility and still like meeting with people in person. And it's great, especially conferences and things. But I think this has a lot to do with exactly what the show is all about, is how are you growing your business and keeping your balance? So before we get into some of the nuances there, why is it important to grow your business and have great balance? Bryon, why don't you answer that for us?
Well, I think the problem when we all get into starting businesses and growing businesses, we're great at what we do. That's why the business flourishes. That's why it starts to grow and people believe in you. And so you start to, for one reason or another, you start to become a bottleneck to growth because you're in a position where you mentally believe you're the only one that can do it. Like if I don't do it, it's not going to be done right, or I can do it so much faster. It's not worth it for me to have somebody else do it. It could be a situation where you feel like you don't have the people behind you, like they're not trained well enough. You're not able to hire the right talent. There's never enough talent. There's never enough time, and there's never enough money. So the reality is you have to figure out how to grow your business and bring a team with you and start to separate that bottleneck around that you're creating. Now, one of the things that's easier said than done, because I think, part of what you do, Travis, is there's a psychological impact on understanding that you can create separation. You can start to work on the business instead of in the business. And the more you do that, the more it, continues to show that you're going to be able to, as Logan said, go home at night. You're going to be able to spend time with your family. You're going to be able to mentor someone and grow great talent into the organization. So there's so many benefits to having that balance. Those are just a few that come to mind.
Yeah. And I know that as you guys are serial entrepreneurs, you have your fingers in various hands into various pots, that it's super important for you. So I can see as you were doing that you're looking for solutions. You seem to be very solutions focused individuals who are like, okay, what can we do like to help ourselves? And now helping others, I'm sure gives you some, great satisfaction, right, Logan?
Of course. One of the things that we've loved is as we've come in with some of these small and medium businesses, we've been watching them grow year over year because we're coming in and we're helping them and they're starting to scale. We're starting to see some of that hockey stick that everybody loves to see. And we've taken some of these companies to the point that they're starting to talk about taking on investments and doing Series A, taking on a new Series B. And some of them are looking at, okay, I have so much of my personal value and net worth in this business. I'm ready to harvest some of it. I've been doing it for 20, 30 years. I'm ready to actually spend more time off of work than on work. And so what does that look like? And how do I capitalize on that? And so being able to walk with them through that and see all of that growth and be a part of that has been amazing and so fulfilling for us as owners of the business and as operators inside of it.
That's great. As you guys have been working on helping others clone themselves, so to speak, with your team approach, how have you scaled your business? What have you done to help grow this business while trying to keep the balance that you want for yourself and for your clients?
So I'll take the first part of this, Bryon. Sure. We've established a methodology that we teach inside of Proxxy. We take every task that comes across our desk, our employees' desks, or our clients' desks, and we put it in one of three buckets. Is this a task that's a one-time task that we just need to eliminate? We need to put a body, we need to put time against it. It needs to go away. We're never going to touch it again. If that's the case, great. Next, is this a task that needs to be delegated? Not abdicated, but truly delegated. If so, we take the time to write the briefs and get it set up so that you can delegate that out. It's one of those slow down a little bit to go fast type of situations. The third one in that is if this is something that's going to happen time and time again, how do we automate it? And right now is such an exciting time to be in the automation space with all the AI things that are coming out and all the automation tools that are getting better and better every day. You can automate a lot more than what most people even believe is possible. And so to have that mindset that every single thing that comes across your desk, am I trying to eliminate it? Do I need to delegate it, or can I automate it? You start putting things in those buckets and you start acting accordingly. It's amazing how fast you can start getting through some of those things that otherwise you'd just be bogged down in for weeks.
Yeah, I can absolutely speak to that too. I talk about, hey, let's figure out where you are in your sweet spot, right? In achieving balance, we go through this. What's your sweet spot at work? And if you're not in your sweet spot, you should be delegating, automating, or deleting. It may be the other way around. Delete the things you don't need, delegate and automate everything else, so that you can free up your time. The D word comes up every single podcast, delegate. It's such a multifaceted idea. Everyone has a different take on this. But before we go that direction, because I want to kind of come back to this, I know, Bryon, you wanted to talk a little bit about how you guys are growing and keeping your balance. So hold that thought. Bryon, let's jump back to you. I know that you were going to jump in as well.
Well, the only thing I was going to add to what Logan was talking about and how we have continued to scale our company is we looked for not just repeat functions, but then how do you build systems or solutions that can elevate everybody in the organization? So what we would naturally do is if we meet with a company, we could go through the books and we could go through every part of the business and we could, give the root canal and anal probe at the same time. Or we've actually developed a really simple way for us to go through a Q&A to understand what the CEO believes their growth stage is. And so that's instead of us coming in and saying, look, we're smarter than everybody here and we're the consultants you should listen to, challenge me. Instead, we want to listen to them. And then we go through and we look at if you're at stage 3 of 6, then what should have been done in 1 and 2, let's look for that. Are they there? Is there a presence of those things? So now we don't have to do that. Our team has gotten really, really good at being investigators. They work through an organization and they try and identify, you think you're really, really good at this. Here's an opportunity to improve it. And so it's really, I feel like it's really great consultative solutions, but the difference is like we know they work because we're practitioners. We've actually done those things. And so that's the recommendation I would make for other people. If they're starting to scale their business, what are those things that they do all the time that they could do in a unique way that could separate their business from their competition? So, when we onboard a client, we can do that in a half an hour. We can prove our value. And so, that. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're winning the business that way and you're helping the client have transformation, which is really, really important through the business process. How how are people finding you? Is it just word of mouth? Are you doing a lot of marketing? Are you on social, email campaigns? What are the 1, 2, 3 things you guys are doing? Maybe Logan, I'll throw this one over to you.
Sure. Our partners are really where we get most of our clients. And ironically, it's not your typical partner relationship. We work with a lot of other business professionals. So financial planners, CPAs, lawyers, those types of things. And I love going and talking to them because I'm like, who's the client that you hate? Because they never get anything on time. You can never get them on the phone. They're always complaining about things. They never do what you want them to do. Send those clients to us. And they're always happy to go, oh, I've got 3 of those, right? Who are those clients that I need to get? Like, if they were off of my shoulder, my life would be great. And we love those introductions because then we're able to come in and not only help our partners in that, but then transform those companies in a significant way.
Yeah, this is an issue. I do a lot of work with the financial sectors, financial advisors, planners, coaches, accountants, et cetera. And this is an issue where if they've brought on a client, maybe at first they were a great client and over time they become a problem client. We talk about this a lot and they don't like to lose clients. If you're a client facing professional, it's an ego blow, I think sometimes. And I think there's an art to it. I don't think necessarily we're going to focus on like how to fire a client because there's the right way to do that. Mm-hmm. But if it can be saved and you can rebuild that relationship and, professional, path forward, I think that this could be a way to do that, especially, involving another team member, very, very possible. As you've been able to help people down this path with this team approach that you guys have explained, what have you found as some of your biggest struggles for yourself to not lose this balance again that you care so much about, that you're helping others to do? I know we all have Achilles heels. I know that I'm balanced man like that, AKA Travis Perry, balanced man who's out there trying to fight the world against, all these myths of balance and growing your business. But at the same time, I know what my weak points are. I know where my weaknesses are, my Achilles heel. It's real. It happens. So just curious, and I'll start with Bryon. I'll let the wisdom begin with, experience here. What is it for you that as you're growing and scaling this business and others that might get in the way?
Yeah, that's a great question, Travis. I think it all starts with, we talk to companies about you have to understand your core values. I think you start with your personal core values. And as long as, one of the most important things, we always talk about 8 key factors that you have to balance at any given time in a business. One of those is leader and company alignment. Are you doing things that you love to do and you're great at? And, are you both aligned on what your long-term vision is and how the company supports that? So, I think you have to go from intuition to intent. Instead of saying, well, it kind of feels like I ought to do this, you got to put a plan together and you got to design a business environment that aligns with what your personal values are. I personally loved working with Fortune 500 companies and had great experience doing it. I loved being, in that space. But you know what I really love? I love watching small to medium-sized businesses scale and sell and know those individuals that have done it. I want to help them. So it sounds corny, but every day I show up because, this feels more like a hobby than work. I mean, I love what I do. So I designed it that way, so that I could focus on that.
Yeah. Oh, it's great point. And a lot of truth to that, at least on the coaching side. I've been able to help people on their personal and business side, coach them through similar processes. A lot of times the issue is them, right? They're the bottleneck.
Yeah, listen, I didn't get into the deficiencies because there's too many and I don't have enough time in this podcast. I'm loaded with it.
Well, if you could give us just one, softball us with one that maybe you struggle with. Tell us one.
Yeah, I'll tell you for sure. The one of the main reasons I wanted this for myself is because I'm famous for having a whiteboard that you can no longer erase. Too many ideas, they're up there forever, and I didn't have somebody that I could hand it to. That's not an administrative task. That's somebody who is a very knowledgeable peer that I could hand that to, but they have an operational mindset and they start framing. And so that changed my life. Having somebody that can, I can erase that whiteboard now. Well, I had to get a whole new whiteboard because you couldn't erase anymore.
But I'll tell them a little bit, only because I love them.
Stack it up.
It's the 2
I
and
love
3 a.m.
having the partners involved. This is good.
Here it goes.
It's the 2 and 3 a.m. emails. It is what it is, right? It's those things where when Bryon gets going, it's that list, right? But it's the deficiency behind it because he's always going, always thinking, whatever else. And I'll wake up with 3 or 4 emails like 2 a.m., 3 a.m., whatever, because he's up going. And so while we do a lot of this for ourselves, it's a constant battle. You've got to keep that. Keeping that balance is not easy.
Yeah. How about for you, Logan? What is it that gets in your way that you struggle with, if you could name one?
Sure. I love building things. And so for me, it's the shiny object syndrome. And so it's especially right now, and I'm sure Bryon will roll his eyes here. I'm super deep in all the AI technology that's out there, and trying to chase through all that right now is a wild ride because the world is literally shifting under our feet. And so many new things are coming up. It's always a ooh and an ooh and a, we need to do that. And we need to do that. And what about this? And we have a Slack channel this morning where we're like, hey, what if we did this? And hey, what if we did that? And so how did those align with our core values? How did those align with what we're trying to accomplish this quarter? How did those align with everything else? And for me, trying to make sure we go back to those rocks, go back to those true KPIs and stay focused on that. When shiny new toy over here comes up, that's my biggest thing because I want to go build. I want to go play with the new stuff. I want to go have fun. And unfortunately, if you keep chasing those, you don't have time to do what's most important.
Yep. Shiny object syndrome is real. And, especially with tech heavy sectors, especially financial advisors, I found it is a definite issue. What I found with those who are coaching or mentoring or training, a lot of times it's the marketing side, right? AI marketing is big right now. What can you do with this? What can you do with that? I mean, that's what ads truly were, is how can you replicate, scale, and grow with automation? How can you get your message out there 24 hours a day in front of thousands of people without you having to be on a phone call with everyone? So this is a great discussion that I think is leading us to maybe reflect a little bit on the people that we serve, who I serve, Logan and Bryon, who you guys serve, entrepreneurs, business owners, client-facing professionals. What do they struggle with? You've met with them, you dealt with them, you've been coaching and helping them for years, and you are subscribed, serial entrepreneurs, as you mentioned. So what is it that I would say industries, those that we help, these CEOs, these business owners, what do they struggle with the most? What would you say, Bryon?
I've already said one of them, which is the hero syndrome. Only I can do it. It's never going to be done as well if I don't do it. So I think that's still probably at the top of my list. The other one is really being a process engineer. And, you might say, well, that's not a CEO's job, but it's the CEO's job to recognize it and support it. And at a certain stage in growth, it's a requirement. And so I think there's, I often see CEOs who go, oh, process, that's just going to weigh us down. That's going to get in the way. Then they all of a sudden get to a unique situation where maybe they could merge, they could buy a company, they could sell their company. And all of a sudden they look like they look like one individual who's doesn't really know how to do their business. So that the process side of the business is one, just a belief in it is something that I've often seen as a challenge, that and the hero syndrome.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Logan, how about you?
The main challenge that I've seen is a founder or entrepreneur who can't make the jump from practitioner to truly being a CEO, and knowing what that job looks like and accepting the responsibility of, no, I'm not cranking widgets day to day. I'm not in that, but I'm casting vision. I'm planning for the future. I'm dealing with culture. I'm doing those types of things and managing at a higher level. Too many of us get in, and especially as you're trying to make that transition, it's one of the things that was the hardest for me to do, is to go, okay, I can get in and do like what Bryon was saying. It's tied in with that hero thing. I can get in and do this, but I need to let my team do that. And I need to step up and truly own the responsibility of being a CEO. And what does that look like? We just find that too many people put CEO on their title, on their business card, because they started the company without any idea of what that seat really means and without being intentional about sitting in it. And so they're trying to walk in two worlds, and it doesn't work.
Oh, I love it. These are great comments. I appreciate what you guys have to offer. I know that there are listeners out there going, yep. That me. Guilty. And that's not it. Like, we're not here to say what your inner demons might be saying right now to you. But we are providing solutions. I'm on the coaching side. I don't do virtual assisting. I have friends and others who have done it, actually been on the show. But you guys provide something unique and different. And when I was on the pre-show with you, I mentioned this, and I said it honestly, I've never heard of anything like this. And I've been doing this for a very long time. What you offer really is a multiplier. So I love this. I love this concept. If others out there are loving it too, and they're listening, they're liking what they're hearing, they want to get this type of help, how do they reach you guys?
Yeah, thank you for that, Travis. If first of all, anyone can just go to proxxy.com, and that's proxxy.com. That's a quick opportunity for them to be able to answer any questions like, what do I think the return is going to be on this, and how much time do I really spend? And there's some cool tools on there that can let them kind of think through it on their own. And I agree with you, Travis. This is not about saying to somebody, hey, you're really not fit for the job. Our tagline is letting leaders lead, because we believe in small business owners and scale growers. We believe that they're capable of that. We just want to eliminate the speed bumps.
That's great. Yeah. We'll have those links in the show notes. I appreciate you, gentlemen. Thank you for making time to be here on the Balanced Growth Show. Any last things that you would like to leave our listeners with? We'll start with Logan or Bryon. Anything that you would suggest or have as takeaways?
I'm just going to go back to that core tenet that we preach. Do we need to eliminate it, delegate it, or automate it? And having that mindset in everything that comes across your desk really can open up the time and allow you to balance your world.
That's awesome. And the thing I'll offer is, everybody says have a confidant, somebody you can talk to. But if you have a confidant that you can talk to and they know your business and they really understand what you're dealing with on a day-to-day basis, that's a fantastic solution. That's what we try and offer. So hopefully we'll hear from you. Happy to talk through it.
Very good. Thank you both. If you loved this, you've been a fly on the wall listening to this conversation we've been having back and forth, our banter, please like, share, subscribe, leave us a great rating on a podcast that you listen to on Spotify, Apple, wherever you find your podcasts. Until next time, again, thank you, gentlemen, for being here. Remember, live life on purpose.